What is something that is morally appalling, but 100% legal? SLAPP suit, a strategic lawsuit against public participation. SLAPP is a lawsuit that is intended to censor, intimidate, and silence critics by burdening them with the cost of a legal defense until they abandon their criticism or opposition. Scientology has taken this to the extreme over the years. Those charity foundations that are actually shady, elaborate scams that spread misinformation and take the money of genuinely good-hearted people. I hate any time I go into a store and they ask me if I want to donate blank towards blank. Nope, sorry I don't. I'd like to help but not in that way. People think I'm cynical but I don't know where that money is going. And I hear like 90% goes to the store because they sponsored it. Corporations or other rich people tying someone up in court for years and bankrupting them in legal fees to the point that they have to settle or just lose. This happened to me after our apartment burned down from a cooking fire. State Farm hired a real butthole lawyer. We, family of 5, already lost everything we owned, were homeless. Then they came after us for $60,000. Couldn't afford a lawyer. The judge gave them the case in about 5 minutes. This happened in like 2013. My bankruptcy is still in the process of going through. The big shiny download button, which is really not a download button and when clicked, takes you to this page which claims that my Mac has been infected by a virus and now I need to download their software to save it. Cutting in line. Ever since grade school, people would cut in line and know the authorities don't give a rat's butt. School lunch, subway machines, restaurants, public transportation. Sure, you can call them out, but does the business care? You can challenge to shame them or drag yourself into a nasty verbal confrontation or even worse, violence. The only time I ever saw a real hero was in a drunken burger van line. A big rugby guy jumped in and everyone grumbled but no one said anything. A little guy behind me shouted, "Hey, you pushed in." The rugby dude ignored it. "Oh, I mate, get to the back of the line." The rugby dude turned around and said, "You got a problem, mate, wanna go?" To my amazement, the little guy took the rugby guy up on his offer and off they went to fight. I was so impressed. This guy must have been a secret black belt in karate or something. Or so I thought. Less than 5 minutes later and the little dude came back to the line. He was holding his bloody nose. "What happened?" we asked. "Oh, he smacked me in the face. I didn't even see it coming." He knew he didn't stand a chance but he went for it anyway, because frick that guy. I looked over and saw the rugby guy getting berated in the middle of the street by his embarrassed angry girlfriend. He left and didn't get a burger. That little guy is my hero. I know of a guy who shares database solutions with companies. After the presentation he then shows the prices for his solutions, which are always over the top, so they will not take his deal. If the same company gets another database solution from another company, he will then closely examine the differences. If they are too similar, he will sue them for stealing his ideas. That's how he makes his living. There is an attorney in Florida that used a publicly available statement, put it on his website and through SEO moved it to the top of Google. Only he added a word or two making it his. All but impossible to tell the difference between the public one and his. He then searches to find who used his version and threatens to sue for copyright infringements to extort money from unsuspecting people companies. Taking an upskirt photo of a child. A guy took an upskirt photo of a 13-year-old girl in Target. A judge in Oregon ruled it technically legal, but mentioned it was super gross. In NZ, if 2 minors have sex, the boy can be prosecuted and not the girl. Even if the girl is 15 and the boy is 11, for example, the boy is technically guilty of statutory rape of the girl. Weird. Also, it's illegal for a woman to open a man's mail, even if married, but not the other way round. Although I can't imagine the courts holding that one up, surely. 99% of the alternative medicine business, big alt, faith healing rich preachers, spreading incorrect and harmful information on vaccines. Exploiting legal loopholes to pay disabled employees less than minimum wage and as little as pennies per hour. Looking at you, Goodwill. Disabled employees pretty much have to be paid pennies per hour because they can lose their federal benefits if they are paid too much. It's a net negative to be paid minimum wage. Not sure about 100%. But in my country, Australia, 2 of our states, SUR and QLD, have a gay panic law, which technically allows you to kill someone in self-defense if the person is homosexual and comes onto you. Like, what the actual frick? Whoa, we have a fricking winner. Sort of the other way around, but I once had neighbors who would get their lawn vandalized by kids walking home from school. We lived close to a middle school, so it happened quite often. It started small and was just throwing a little trash on their lawn, then turned into knocking things over, tearing up the lawn, dumping entire trash cans, and pulling plants out of the garden. So eventually they set up a video camera to have proof of who was doing it. They went to the nearby school to show who it was and tried to contact their parents, and then the school yelled at them for recording the kids without permission and suggested they didn't take it any further because they could get in more trouble. For the video, TLDR. Those dang kids on my neighbor's lawn can do whatever they want and my neighbors would get in trouble for proving it was them. Paparazzi. I always cheer when Sean Penn or someone busts some TMZ butthole's camera over their face. I'm not really a violent person, but the fact that you can stalk someone as long as you have a press pass is pretty appalling. Plus it just promotes celebrity worship anyway. I know we have 24-hour news channels, but even with all that time to fill we can probably find actual news. Gerrymandering and super PACs. We've allowed democracy to be bought and sold to the highest bidder and is currently 100% legal. Having a child for the sole purpose of harvesting it for donor parts for your first child. At least in America, the parent can make all medical decisions for the child. This includes donating organs, marrow, or whatever else to their sibling. Fricked up crap. On a related note, there was a movie about this 10 or so years ago. The younger kid sued the parents for doing this, I believe. Things like Ticketmaster that buy up a majority of tickets to a venue then sell them back to people at a higher price. Bastards. Don't think that many would agree, but I am disgusted by rodeos. Animal abuse is illegal, but somehow an event where the whole premise is forcing yourself upon a creature that obviously doesn't want you there, to the point where they need another person designated to distract it from killing the person that was on him. They buck in their little cages, and if they start acting up, wanting to not be caged up, we shock them until they calm down. I doubt it will happen because I know what a profitable industry it must be, but rodeos really shouldn't be legal. Frick torturing animals for our amusement. I may be out to lunch on this, but helium balloons. We don't have an effective way to industrially produce more helium. As much as making little Timmy happy with a thing he's gonna wreck loose on his birthday and immediately forget about, or a chance to make silly voices for a minute, I'd rather we have MRIs a little longer. Civil forfeiture. Police can confiscate your money or property if they claim it's suspicious. And you can't do anything about it because legally they're arresting your stuff and not you. So the confiscated inanimate object would be the one to get to contact a lawyer. Praying for your children instead of taking them to the doctor to get them well. Then, often in real life in America they die. Reminds me of this joke. A devout Christian was stuck on his roof during a terrible flood. As the water climbed higher, a man in a boat came along and shouted, "Come with me, I'll save you." The Christian replied, "No thank you, I rely on God," and continued praying. The water climbed even higher, and the Coast Guard in a boat came along, its crew saying, "Come with us, we'll save you." The Christian replied, "No thank you, I rely on God," and he continued praying. The water was now up to his neck, and he was about to drown, when a helicopter came along, the pilot saying, "Come with me, I'll save you." The Christian replied, "No thank you, I steadfastly rely on God," and continued praying. Eventually, he drowned, still praying. In heaven, he asked God why he would abandon a faithful Christian. God replied, "What are you talking about? I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter." How the justice system perennially hands down ridiculously short sentences or even community service to female perpetrators of statutory rape, even when the victim is as young as 12 or 13. As a woman, seeing female teachers get a slap on the wrist makes me want to vomit. There are so many levels to how fricked up it is for a teacher to prey on their students. I worked with kids and I got really protective of them. I can't imagine how anyone can take advantage of people entrusted to them. Rape in general has very low conviction rates and very light punishments. Rapists are rapists, no matter the gender. No one deserves to have it happen to them, and no one deserves to escape justice for it. In my country it is 100% legal to take a video of someone performing sexual acts without their consent and post it on the internet, all with zero repercussions. The British government has declared seriously disabled people fit for work when they really could not work. Some infamous cases involved people starving to death, someone dying because they couldn't pay their electric bill to stop their insulin from spoiling, and people in comas being declared fit for work. Over 3,000 people have died as a result, yet somehow they have not broken the law. The guy behind it, Ian Duncan Smith, despite excusing his decisions constantly or outright ignoring them, quit apparently because he was shocked at what the government was asking him to do, despite literally saying before he regretted nothing. He was replaced by someone else who basically continued his policies. Ian Duncan Smith is now on the forefront of the campaign to leave the EU. The man should be on trial in The Hague. But no, somehow declaring the severely disabled fit for work and leaving them to die in horrible ways is somehow legal in the UK. I was told I could walk 50 meters despite having been a full-time wheelchair user for the last 8 years. I started laughing hysterically when that letter came in because it was just so unbelievable. I lost my job because they removed the money that paid for my carer. I had to cut down my care hours, and my health went to crap, so I couldn't do my job. When I then applied for ESA as I was unfit for work, I was told I was fit for work as I'd worked in the past, despite letters from numerous health professionals saying that I couldn't work now. It doesn't matter what your many specialist doctors say. If a nurse from ATIS decides something about an illness they admit they've never heard of before your assessment, they know better apparently. The infamous cases as well are only those where the death is a direct result of a decision. Plenty of people dealing with this crap end up with mental health problems, increasing their risk of suicide. I played disability sport and all but a couple of us have had problems recently. My doctor, the most chill and professional person ever, actually lost his crap one day and went on a huge rant, including calling the gov a bunch of bastards, when I said how hard I'd found dealing with the system. To see such a normally professionally distant man so upset was really something. Politicians receiving money from corporations. It's a freaking bribe. How the heck do they pretend that it isn't textbook bribery? Some states still allow religious parents to pray for their sick children instead of taking them to a doctor, even when they die from easily curable diseases. Lobbying state and federal governments to enact mandatory minimum sentences for minor drug possession charges in order to fill your for-profit prisons. Fake scratch-off tickets, especially for Christmas birthdays. I feel the same way when a parent gives a kid a box of what he really wants, such as the newest game system, but the parent puts in a lame present, clothes, and expects the kid to be 100% grateful. Horrific and unnecessary animal abuse, tolerated as long as it's for profit. Fur farms, seal clubbing, fishing bycatch, puppy mills, leg hold traps, pigeon shoots, canned hunts, factory farms. The Wolf Conservation Center in Colorado also informed me that you can get fined thousands for tampering with someone's trap, because anything caught in it is the trapper's property, even if it's an endangered species or your family dog. A woman was charged thousands when she freed her dog. It went after food in a trap that was 5 feet off of a trail and got caught. The court sided with the trapper that once caught. The dog belonged to him and she tampered with his property. A woman was fined for freeing an eagle not too long ago. 2. These laws are ridiculous and in one, among many reasons why wolves are so critically endangered. Peacefully protesting funerals. I don't even freaking care if the funeral is for someone in the WBC who spent their life protesting funerals. Using someone's death as an opportunity to throw your ideology at someone isn't freaking cool. There is a system in place, at least in KY, where any person off the street can foster a mentally handicapped person and take them out of a group home. The company that you take them from basically employs you as a contract employee and pays you per individual that you house. I've seen companies that pay up to $3,000 a month, $500 of that you are supposed to use for rent, but it's yours nonetheless. This income is not taxed, for reasons unknown to me. Maybe because the money comes from Medicaid, which is gathered from taxpayers anyway, and you can go to the food stamp office and get food stamps because you technically don't have an income. They let you house up to 3 individuals, so you're earning anywhere from $36,000 to $108,000 a year and you are still eligible for food stamps. Student loans. Everyone harps on you to go to school and you'll do well, and no one tells you that there'll be just not enough aid to go around by the time you are there. And now you're less than 2 years from your degree and it's either give up on all the progress you've made, or sign away your soul just because you were encouraged to try to better yourself. Patent trolling. Pure extortion. Not only is it 100% allowed by the US government, it's actively encouraged and executed by the government itself. It is as bad or worse than mob tactics, and the government should 100% be held accountable for the disgusting tactics, but they just lay the blame at the feet of the people that they enabled to do it. Giving people the ability to generate money by harassing people who try to innovate is not ambiguous. They are actively supporting crime. Declawing cats. Yes, and it's crazy that it's not more well known how terrible this is. When we were getting a cat, I looked into it a bit, because I had thought that it was only bad because if the cat ever escaped it couldn't defend itself. And I thought, well, we don't have to worry about that, because we live on the 32nd floor. But nope. Super terrible for many more reasons. It's literally equivalent of amputating a person's fingers to the first joint, and worse than doing that for a human, because we don't suffer the same kind of constant emotional stress from missing the tips of our fingers as cats do from missing their main mechanism of protect and attack. It causes so many problems, and you'll generally just get a really nasty, bitty cat. And I've heard so many people try to argue why they needed to declaw their cat, and they are all, with one possible exception, bulls. Don't want your furniture clawed up, don't get a freaking cat, have a disease that make healing difficult or something else where you really can't be scratched, don't get a cat, you have a small baby that you don't want to be scratched, don't get a cat. The caveat for the last two being that if you already own the cat when you develop the disease or get pregnant, then I get that finding a better solution is a struggle and could be not possible. Though I'd also say that a declawed cat isn't necessarily a great solution to the problem anyway, because the biting still puts people at risk, but yay, it should just be straight up illegal for vets to do. Anyway, sorry for the rant, but since you posted it first, I figure you get how I feel. P. The way health insurance companies screw you over. Story time. I was born with cancer on both of my kidneys, and though I survived with one half of one kidney, it led to a whole lot of health issues during my childhood. I had to take countless medicines every day just to stay alive. You can imagine how much the health insurance companies disliked me. Eventually, a little before I hit puberty, my doctor prescribed growth hormone, which would help my body produce some chemical, don't remember the specifics, that I would need to stay healthy, since my single damaged kidney wouldn't be able to keep up. A nice side effect would be that I would actually grow up the same size as my peers. The health insurance would not pay for it because they claimed it was cosmetic and not medically necessary. Okay, that's understandable. Growth hormone is usually used to gain a couple inches in height for most people. But then again, I wasn't most people. I legitimately needed this drug or I would face serious health issues again in the future. So my doctor, who was a very prominent and well-respected pediatric nephrologist, wrote up a polite formal letter explaining the situation and asking them to make an exception for my case. They refused. My parents were distraught, since the drug was very expensive and paying for it out of pocket wasn't really a viable option. My doctor, though, was completely livid. As Patrick Rothfuss says, there are three things all wise men fear: the sea and storm, a night with no moon, and the anger of a gentle man. My doctor wrote one of the most passive-aggressive, politically correct but frick you letters I've ever read. My parents might still have a copy. I should check with them. Basically insinuating that the company needs to find some actual medical professionals to determine what was medically necessary, not some armchair textbook eaters who wouldn't be able to diagnose a common cold. There was some back and forth between him and the insurance company, but in the end they finally approved the growth hormone. and I started treatment about 6 months late. Luckily, the only downside to starting so late is my lack of height. I grew to be only 5 feet 6 inches. 6 inches shorter than most other men my age. Here's a shout out to the best pediatric doctor I ever had. Hope you're doing well. The fact a burglar can sue the burglar if they injure themselves on their property. You can sue anyone for anything, whether you win or not, or get laughed out of the court. That's another question. So far as I've seen, there's only one case in America in which someone who was trespassing sued successfully for injuries sustained while trespassing. Bodine v. Enterprise High School was the case in question. A young man climbed onto the roof of the school, ostensibly to adjust a light so he and his friends could play basketball, and he fell through a skylight. The skylight had been painted black and he didn't see it when he stepped on it. There were a number of other mitigating factors. You can dig into it if you like, but there isn't some rash of burglars suing the homeowners of the places they break into. When it does happen, the cases are dismissed and the people suing are usually given a nasty talk from the judge. Buying a company, then stealing the pension funds from employees and retirees who worked there for decades. This almost happened to my grandpa. They had a pension, you paid in, and it paid out based on a variety of factors such as longevity with the company, how much you paid in, ect. But, thing is, the pension wouldn't pay out if you quit before you retired, or some similar clause. Another catch was that the pension wasn't paid into by the average line worker, it was for management and office staff and stuff. New company came in and made things uncomfortable for everyone, lowering pay, crappy hours, that sort of thing, for everyone who basically made enough to bother paying into the pension, driving them out of the company and thus ineligible for the pension. But I guess the pensions managers were good at keeping things opaque, because they missed my grandpa. He was a hard worker and comfortable with his life, so he never really pushed up the chain or demanded more money, so he was the lowest paid person paying into the pension, and fell off the radar of the new management. The long and the short of it was he was the last person to retire who was eligible for the pension, and ended up getting a lump of $5 million, and I'm not even sure what his monthly payment was. Not bad for someone who made $25 HR. Ads online that led to spyware and scamware. Or ads that are malware. Basically, internet bad guys serve flash ads over legitimate ad distribution networks, and use the flash exploit du jour to take over people's computers who view them. Turn off your flash player, kids. Good browsers, Firefox, and I think recent Chrome versions are shipping without them now, but you should still make sure. Blocking ads can't hurt either, as JavaScript engines have occasional exploits too. The bottom line is that ad networks allow bad guys to execute code on trusted domains, completely breaking the same origin policy and the security it provides. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.